All right. Shalom, shalom akim. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all the praises, honor, and the glory to Yahawah, Bahashim, YAHAWASHI, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and then to the elders of Great Millstone. GMS with time of this truth. Honors to the brethren in the Akim that's pushing out this truth with all sincerity and in faith into YAHAWAH, Bahashim, YAHAWASHI, for allowing me once again to come back with another lesson. And the title of this lesson is simply going to be titled Hot or Cold. Okay. Pretty straightforward title. And this is just came to me throughout the day. You know, most of us, if not all of us, brothers, we all go to work. And what I like to do, a lot of people like to listen to music. I just pop in my earbud and put a lesson on and just listen to it while I do what I got to do for the hours that I'm there, and then get out of there. But I was watching a video today, and I believe it was it wasn't nothing recent, but it was like an older video, because I have my videos on where like one video ends, another one that is similar to it will just autoplay, and sometimes it's just regular weird, just random videos, and then I gotta go scroll and just click on a brother's channel and just watch that, and just go from there. But I remember it was Apostle Gabar and Apostle Gabar and Bishop Sakaran, and they were basically just going in on what the Heavenly Father requires of us in terms of how He wants us to be in this truth, and He requires us to be one or the other, and that's why I have this old picture I found on Google concerning cold and hot, or hot and cold, and that's how the Heavenly Father has it, to where He wants you to be either the one or the other. You can't be both. Okay, you gotta pick your battle, so to speak. And that's the thing, is the Heavenly Father. When you come into this faith, you're either gonna be cold, and to be cold is, well, you're not really too sure if you actually believe. You don't really make any lessons. You hardly go out. Things of that nature. It's almost like you're on a job and you're working slow, because like for example, like cold, like the temperature or the environment. You have certain places on Earth where the environment is cold, and the reason why it's so cold is because the molecules are moving very slow. If the molecules are moving real slow, it's going to be a cold environment. If they're moving real fast, it's going to be a very hot environment. So you take that example into the job or a job site. If you see a guy that's moving slow, you could tell that, okay, you don't really want to be here. Why even come in if you ain't gonna really, show up, right? And then you have the other guys who are just moving quick, fast, and in a hurry, getting shit done, hauling ass. And that's how you want to be. You want to be hot, okay? You want to be moving with purpose, with some pep in your step, so to speak, okay? Let's go here. Let's go to what got me going. This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 15. And it says, and I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou were cold or hot. You see? So the Lord, scriptures is saying that I'd rather you be cold or hot, one or the other. Now there's the other stage where a lot of men are in, is the lukewarm stage, where they got one. It's like you having one pant leg in and one pant leg out. You're not even interested really in being there, at all. You're there, but your mind is somewhere else, right? Uh, Verse 16, it says, "So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth." Meaning, I'm just gonna have to just let you go, man. I'm gonna have to let you go. It was a pleasure working with you, but this ain't working out. It's just not happening, and it's all right. You know, Hopefully you find what you're looking for, right? um, and that's where you don't want to be, is that lukewarm individual, a person who is just like, I'll just get to him when I want. It'll be there. It ain't going nowhere. I'll get to him whenever when I get to it. That's a very dangerous spirit to be in, and it shows that you don't really care, and that's not a good thing, because some men, they're given things, they're given talents, they're giving all of our individual blessings from on high, and if you were given that, the one that gave it is also has the power to take it away if you're not using it. If you either use it or lose it, and that's what happens to certain men that are lukewarm. They use it, they use what they got for a little bit, and then they get tired of it. They let it be on, like, on the bench, so to speak. It's like you get a new toy on Christmas or your birthday, and you play with it for only the first few days, and then after you find it all fucked up in the corner on the floor. You just don't care about it no more. It was cool at first, but then it just kind of got boring. You know, that's what happens to certain men, and it's really because they're not reading, they're not studying, they're not. They're not. I'm not still going to say that they're not. It's not that they're not doing those things. It's just this has to be in you. You got to want to live and survive that which is to come, and the only way that you're going to be able to escape these things that are going to come is by faith and by your works. They both come together. You can't have one without the other. Okay. Matter of fact, we're going to go here. Second Ezra chapter 9, or Second Ezra chapter 9, and verse 7. "And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed." Do you see that? So by faith and by your works as well, because those both come together, and whereby you have believed. Okay? You got to really believe, man. Truly. And it will show. In verse 8 it says, "And shall be preserved from the said perils of things that are going to come," right? "And shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them, for me from the beginning." Which that's who? That's the elect. Okay? So that's what we want to have your works with your faith, and your faith with your works. Because that's how you're going to be saved. That's how you're going to be delivered. And first and foremost, as always, praying and hoping that we're part of that elect. Okay? And that's another thing. To be on fire is like you make you do lessons every day, or I think it is very possible for every man to get at least one lesson out a day. It's very, very doable. Now, you also have to think about, certain men, they're not given the same talent as you, or they're not on the same level as you. Maybe they're still learning, but at the end of the day, the idea should be that, all day, every day, like it's like discipline, I was watching, who was it? Like those men in Russia, right? In Dagestan in particular, which has a lot of very great talent coming out of it in terms in the aspect, or in the world of mixed martial arts, right? Now you have a man goes by the name of Khabib Nurmagomedov, which he's a former UFC lightweight champion, retired, had a phenomenal career, and his father fought by his side this whole time, and then he eventually had passed away, so he was not going to fight without his father in his corner. And so he trained and passed on a lot of knowledge that he was passed down from his father and his father before, of, you know, being an unstoppable force, because those guys in Russia, they're tough, man, and they're disciplined, you know. Their MO is basically no phones, no girlfriends, no bullshit, no video games, fuck you, we train. That's their mindset. And that's how you gotta be. The discipline is second to none. And to be disciplined, like Mike Tyson said, discipline is doing something that you hate, but doing it as if you love it. Now we could switch that around a little bit because we're not doing something that we hate. You know, we do this because we want to, and we're instructed to do so. Okay, but we do this thing like we do. Well, hey, there's that saying: "How you do anything is how you do everything." So if you do shit half-assed, you're gonna do everything half-assed. But if you are diligent and you show care and conscientiousness in one's work and duty, it'll show, and people respect that. That you're not a person to just fucking wing it and see if it works or not. You're there to do it the right way the first time, so you don't gotta go back and fix your fuck ups. See, and in this truth, man, there's not really too much, if any, room to fuck up. Now we do, at times, we fall, we we sin every day, those things, but we still trying. We're still doing our best to be examples to the flock. Okay, and that's what you want to be as well. Let's do this. 2 Timothy 4, or no, 1 Timothy 5:1, or I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. Forgive me. 1 Peter 5:1. This is the book of 1 Peter 5:1, and it says, "The elders which are among you I exhort, whom also an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Hamashiach YAHAWASHI, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed." And it says, "Feed the flock of the Heavenly Father which is among you." And that's one of the very most important things that we got to do is feed the flock, feed the sheep, feed the lambs. Yahushua asked Peter many moons ago on, "Hey, do you love me, bro? Yeah, cool. Yeah, all right. Well, if you love me, guess what? You're gonna feed my sheep. You're gonna feed my flock. You're gonna feed my lambs. You're gonna do those things. And like anything, those of you brothers that have pets, if you go a day, half of a day without, checking on your, whether you have a cat or a dog or any kind of pet, that you have the dominion over, you don't feed it or water it, man. It's very, and depending, especially like reptiles, you got to make sure you feed them like every day, if not more than once a day, because they need that food and they're in captivity and dependent on you. Now, if you go days or a few days without feeding it, man, you're gonna come back to it. It's gonna look all fucking dehydrated and all fucked up and probably pissed off, waiting to fuck you up because you reach your hand in there and you think it thinks your food because it's starving. You know, you gotta feed your dogs, you gotta feed your cats, you gotta feed your your reptile, whatever you got. Because if you don't, it's gonna die. It's not gonna like you, at least not for long, right? And that goes the same thing with the Heavenly Father's sheep, His people. You gotta feed them. You gotta tell them. You gotta warn them. You gotta stir up their pure minds by way of remembrance. Things of this nature. That's you being on fire. You being consistent. Okay. But it says, "Feed the flock of the Heavenly Father which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind." You see, and that's the thing. You have to be, because to be contrite is like, oh, all right, I gotta go do this. I gotta go do this lesson. I gotta go out to the highway. I gotta get the sign out. I gotta go blow the dust off my car. If you have that spirit if you go to the Heavenly Father's job site with that spirit, you better just stay home, man. Take the day off, okay? Take the rest of the week off. Fuck it, right? Because it's not willingly. It's against your will. And you don't want to force anybody to do something that they don't want to do. So you have to be willing to do these things, and willing to not only just do it, don't expect anything in return. You know, a lot of people think like I remember there's this guy he's all trying to teach me something, and he was all like, usually I don't do this because if I'm gonna teach somebody they're gonna pay me. And I just looked at him like, all right, dude, don't even teach me, bro. I don't even like if that's the attitude you have. I don't even want to learn from you because because obviously you don't want to do it. So why even do it? You know. And for filthy lucres for money, and you see that a lot within Israel is that I gotta get my $40 or I gotta get my money. I gotta get the bread, son. And it's not about that shit. You know. Now do we sometimes here and there get something from, somebody might see us out there and they might have five, dangling out the window. Like, hey brother, this is for you, or they give us a water. That calm, nice gestures is just enough. We're not looking for handouts. We're not looking for $1 million on a fucking flipping billboard. You know, we don't care about that. We're just trying to do one thing and one thing only is to push this message out. All right. And the message is this truth, this word, and everything that comes with it, all the sweet and all the bitter, all these things. Okay. And doing it from the bottom of your heart, from doing it from a place where, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this willingly in hopes that with my service, me serving, I could get rewarded for it. That's what we're trying to get. We don't want anything from this world. We're trying to get something that you can't buy. You got to earn. And that is the king. That is the pathway to the kingdom, to salvation, to everlasting life. That's what we want. And that's what we're fighting for. Now, if you're cold, you're not going to have your chances of getting there are going to be very slim and very few and far in between. But if you're on fire and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing to the best of your ability and what has been given to you from on high, from YAHAWASHI, and you endure unto the end, whatever that is, there is a very high possibility that you will be rewarded. Because you also have to remember that even in death, the death of those that believe, the dead in Hamashiach YAHAWASHI, guess what? They're going to be the first ones to rise. And those that are alive and that remain and endure, they're going to be caught up together with them as well, right behind them, So that there is worth fighting for and giving your all for, in my opinion. And that's my opinion. But Rihanna says, neither as Aslaki says, neither as being lords of the Heavenly Father's heritage. Well, I'm over you. I've been in the truth since. Look, I don't care. The Most High doesn't care. Because you could be in there for that much long and you could, hey, Most High could switch your mind up and you'd be gone tomorrow. Go back into the world or some shit. You've seen that from men from time to time. Being lords of the Heavenly Father's heritage. Look, this isn't your program. You are a part of this program. And you and myself, nobody is immune to the consequences of the Heavenly Father. No one, not one. But this is what you want to be. It says, neither being lords over the Heavenly Father's heritage, but being examples unto the flock. And that's what you want to be. And how you're gonna be an example to the flock? Well, you're gonna be doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's like a big brother. Like, I'm the eldest of my siblings. And I remember always being told, especially and a lot of my cousins I'm older than, but I remember them, my grandparents, they would always tell me like, hey, you're the oldest, they look at you, they look at what you do, and whatever you do, they're gonna think it's okay doing. So I was always put on the spot, like, be an example, don't be a bad one. If you're gonna be an example, do good. All right, because you're the eldest, and that's how you have to be in the faith. You see brother just coming in, you don't want to be the guy to teach or present bad habits to someone that's just coming in, and then that rubs off on them. It's shitty, and it could be reversed if you just do what you're supposed to do and do it the right way, making your lessons, going out, reading, studying, praying without ceasing, reproving one another, rebuking one another when and the time is right, and if needs be. Okay. And it says, verse 5, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and being clothed with humility. And that also comes with being on fire too, because you can have somebody who's super on fire, that brother's diligent, and some men, you have two men that they'll be on their high horse, thinking that nothing, no one can touch them. And, you get a little prideful at times. But then Heavenly Father quickly, he's the master at it, okay? He is the sensei of it, of humbling motherfuckers. And we're men, and we all have been one way or another. And if you haven't, you will be humbled by the Most High. He will humble you. And it is a very needed thing because we're men, all right. And the spirit of man and the things that men, the characteristics of men sometimes can have the spirit of pride. But the Heavenly Father could weed that out very quick, no problem, okay? But being clothed with humility is very important as well. Being humble, because that's who the Heavenly Father is going to be dealing with, all right? The scriptures talk about in the book of Proverbs, right? 11:1, it says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight, okay? And here's the point, verse 2, it says, when pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. And wisdom is another key thing, but with the lowly, that's where wisdom is going to dwell, okay? With those that, because to be lowly is to think of one as not too important. Just, hey man, I got a job to do, and I'm just here to do it. That's it. I don't need the high praises. I don't need none of that. All right, because at the end of the day, all the credit goes to the Most High YAHAWASHI. I have nothing to glory of, This is and I believe the brother was just on here. The brother YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, Brakatan to you. Shalom, shalom. What was I gonna grab? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and adhere to the spirit. This is the book of 2 Timothy, or 1 Timothy 4:12, and it says, "Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example unto the believers." See, so you want to be an example to those of the believers, okay? And these are where you want to be an example of in. You want to be an example of the believers in word, what you say, in conversation, how you say it, in charity, the things that you do for one another. Because charity is love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. And it says, until I come, give attendance to reading, studying, exhortation, encouraging one another to do good, do the good works, and to the doctrine, to the gospel, for the gospel's sake. All right? And these are the things that you want to do. And it's your choice. I mean, I'll say that, I'll take that back. It really isn't your choice, but you only have two options, and it's either you're hot or you're cold, one or the other. Or you could be lukewarm, and you already know where you're going, and your ass is going out the door. So don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that's cold. Don't be the guy that's lukewarm. But be the guy that's on fire. Okay? You want to be that's like fire and desire. All right, my man Rick James. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and adhere to the Spirit, brothers. I pray this lesson was edifying, exhorting, and comforting. And as always, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Kodesh. And it's on to the next one, brothers. Shalom.